I remember one day in middle school, I was in a new school. It was a rural community, not an urban setting at all. And there was this kid who was known around school as being kind of a tough guy. And then all of a sudden, I look outside the window during study hall, and I see him getting into fisticuffs with the principal of the middle school. And the principal of the middle school essentially tackling the kid outside on the grass, getting him on the ground, and multiple other adults kind of pouncing to try to get this kid to stop being unruly and flailing around and throwing fists. I remember sitting there in study hall just like shocked. I couldn't process it at that time. Since then, I had seen multiple fights in classrooms. You know, some kids standing up, saying something about some other kid's mom, and then all of a sudden they go at it and desks get thrown and all the other students kind of step back like, not sure what's going on, and the teacher's kind of freaking out. How should teachers deal with these situations? I want to hear from you. 217-629-7970. That's the phone number here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. Now, we have a story here locally of a teacher who has been arrested after an altercation with a student. And this in Lanphier in Springfield. He was arrested Monday after a 15-year-old student punched him in the face numerous times, allegedly. The 44-year-old teacher, a special ed teacher, reportedly held the student down while police arrived after getting hit in the face multiple times. But the report indicates that the teacher had to grab the student after getting hit multiple times and putting him on the ground. And this all because of apparently the student wanted to get into the classroom to grab a laptop that the teacher was told not to let the student take. And then the student got violent and started throwing fists. Now, there's different dynamics, of course, that work into modern day school violence. And that's the dynamic of kids having cell phones and be able to take video and stuff. I don't know if that happened in this case. You could probably search Twitter and YouTube all day and find all kinds of school fight videos. It's ridiculous. And they're pretty brutal, actually, especially girl fights. I don't know why, but the grabbing of the hair and not letting go of the hair, that's too far for me. I don't know. I don't even think they do that type of stuff in the UFC. But regardless, teachers are in the middle of this. Teachers either they have to stand back because of whatever questions of liability, or if they don't do something, are they going to be held liable? How should teachers handle these types of situations? Because now we have a teacher, a special ed teacher, who is facing charges. Now the student, the 15-year-old student who allegedly punched the teacher multiple times in the face, also facing charges. But the teacher is also being held accountable in this. How should we allow teachers to handle these situations? 217-629-7970. That's the phone number here with Springfield's Morning News. You can also email bishoponair@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we can connect that way, and you can share your thoughts. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning, sir. This is just mind-blowingly frustrating. Attacks a teacher, so the teacher grabs him and holds him down, so he's no longer being attacked, and then now he's going to get face charges. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Well, and both had to have issues checked by medical staff to see if they were okay, including the teacher.
Yeah. So it's just. I mean, I get it. My wife works in school. And it's an ongoing problem. Kids get wild, and then it's like, well, what do you do? Let them just beat up another child because you can't restrain them because you haven't. Like, there's a certain type of class they have to take to be able to officially restrain a kid, and if they haven't taken that, then they can get sued. And so it's like, oh, well, I haven't taken that class, so I can't stop this kid from beating the crap out of the other kids, so I just have to watch and observe.
Well, and I'm sure you've seen the same videos that go around, time to time. It's like, the kids get into a fight and the teacher in the situation literally just steps back and lets it happen. Because they can't do it. They'll be held liable. They could face charges themselves.
And I mean, definitely, some of these kids are way bigger than the teachers. Yeah. Men or female teachers. Sometimes these students are bigger, and that kid's just going to end up beating the tar out of the teacher. Yeah. So they don't want to get hurt themselves. So I understand that on that level of a teacher just being like, I can't do anything other than call and try to get some help.
Right.
But the fact that, if a teacher's getting attacked and they defend themselves and do what they can to stop the kid from hurting them, and they get arrested, that's just beyond. Wow.
Yeah, we'll see what ultimately happens with this case. Appreciate the call. We'll take more of your calls at 217-629-7970, talking about the case of a Lanphier High School teacher that faces charges after being punched multiple times in the face by a student that he grabbed and put down on the ground until police could arrive. The student also faces charges, but how should teachers handle these situations? Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, hopefully there's cameras around. But I remember an incident when I was in high school, and I'm talking the mid-'80s, and I'm not going to mention any names, but and I'm probably going to give you too much information about myself, but I was a troubled kid, so I was always in trouble. We had this place called In-House, which meant you ate at a different time for lunch. So you had a small group of us that would have to go eat off, after everyone else did. Well, there was a fight broke out, and this one guy was fighting. He was a massive kid to begin with. Big, solid kid. Well, the teacher that was in the room watching us at the time, he just kind of got thrown to the side trying to break up the fight. And, he screamed for help, and in comes, at the time, like one security guard and the vice principal. This is a high school, here in town. And that big kid threw them all off like they were, toys. Ended up grabbing the principal and started in on him, ended up punching him in the face. He got sent to the hospital, had stitches put in his, mouth and all that. The kid was taken to I think juvenile at the time because he's still a teenager. And, so these kids can get big and, they can overpower some of these teachers. So, but yes, you also have to take into consideration I'm not saying it is, but we need cameras maybe because you just want to make sure everyone's on the up and up. But I believe this guy here was doing the right thing and probably got the worst end of the deal. So,
well, and again, charges don't necessarily mean that he's going to ultimately be convicted of that. There could be something else amicable worked out. Who knows? But regardless, it raises the question of how teachers should be able to handle these things. By the way, I find it very believable that you were a handful as a kid in school.
Oh, it was a good time.
Right on. Okay, good. I appreciate the call. 217-629-7970 is the phone number. Get more of your calls. How should teachers handle unruly students, especially when it turns into fisticuffs? Good morning.
Greg, the question I have is let's say that somebody walks into your workplace, maybe it's even a coworker, maybe Jim just comes over and he's frustrated with you and he just punches you in the face 2 or 3 times.
No.
The question is that if you defend yourself, what happens? Why should it be any different from a teacher? Why?
Yeah.
That's my question is why should we hold a teacher or anybody accountable? I mean, you hear about companies firing people because some customer came in and did something horrible to them, and they fired him because you're supposed to stand there and just take it. It's right. Like, you don't pay me to stand here and take it, for crying out loud. And I don't understand why in our society that we even put up with this kind of crap.
Appreciate the call. 217-629-7970. Full phone lines. We'll get to them all. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hi there. Let's just say that I'm a teacher at one of the high schools here in Springfield, and this is what we're talking about. We're trying to tell the school district that, our contract negotiation wasn't all about money. We're trying to also talk about safety. We haven't been trained for this kind of situation. We're kind of sitting ducks, and we just,
and
are
if you
worried
don't
about
have that proper
safety.
training, then there could be a whole host of other negative things that's not just going to have a teacher potentially held liable, but also the district held liable. And those are taxpayer dollars that could possibly have to pay out whatever kind of settlement there may be. So yeah, this is an issue that has to be dealt with because it's not something new, right?
Exactly.
I shared at the top. In middle school, this was 30 years ago, unbelievable. But in middle school, I saw a principal have to tackle a unruly kid. Now that was a different time, but regardless, it's not something new, and we should have proper training in place to get teachers on the up and up and how to deal with kids that come in and throwing fists.
Well, absolutely. And, so the school district should sit down and talk to us about that. But if you recall, they stopped the negotiations and now we're going to mediation. So safety is something that we're very concerned about, and this is exactly why. Yeah,
I appreciate the calls, and something I think that we're not going to be done talking about anytime soon because this is just an isolated incident. You're likely going to hear about other incidents like this across the country, if not right here in Springfield again. It is Springfield's Morning News, and we're hearing from you at 217-629-7970. I'm Greg Bishop. You can always follow along, Bishop on Air, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just search it out, or you can email me, bishoponair@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your comments on this and plenty of other